Hello and welcome to my look at Planetside 2. So Planetside is a massive multiplayer online first-person shooter. It's released by Sony in 2012. I've played this game since the beta, had quite a lot of fun with it, but I'm going to go back to the beginning and have a look at it again. So the original Planetside came out in 2003, I think, and is essentially the same game. This is what they call a reimagining of Planetside. The original did suffer from the lack of internet technology at the time. It was a bit laggy and slow and rubber banded all over the place. So with better graphics and better netcode, Planetside 2 continues the story of the original Planetside. So the human race have gone out into the universe exploring through a wormhole, and at some point the wormhole collapses and strands the humans on the planet of Araxis. So the fighting between the three factions is spread over 3 continents at the moment. There is a 4th one coming. You have Indar, which is a mix of desert and canyons and open dunes. Esamir, which is a winter world. It's full of ice and permafrost and there's very little vegetation. You have Amerish, which is mountainous, lots of green, valleys, forests, lush grass. The new continent that's come in is called Hosin, and it's a swampland, so you've got lots of marshes, and it's also almost permanent nighttime on that continent. So dotted around the continents you have bases of various sizes and types. You have what are known as biolabs, which are large raised domes. You have AMP stations, which are technology centres, and you have standard bases and standard small bases. So they're all designed differently, although you will notice that there are very similar buildings. Some of these bases are built by the humans, and there are some which are built by an ancient extinct race of aliens called the Vanu. So a lot of work's been done recently on improving the bases to make them more defendable. It was a problem in the past that you could just storm a base really easily and pin the defenders into their spawn points, and that was far too easy to do, but there's been a lot of redesign work on bases recently to improve that, and it has helped. So to capture a base you usually have to drop its shields, which involve destroying shield generators. This will give you access to the control points or to the spawn controllers, so you can stop the defenders from spawning in their own base. And once you gain control of it, the flags on the base will change to your faction's colours, and then you will have to go around and repair everything you want to keep working. So it is pretty similar to Capture the Flag, but on a massive scale. One of these bases is the same size as a Battlefield 3 map. So the first of the 3 races on Araxis is the Terran Republic. They are the government. They're authoritarian, they use their military might to control their citizens, and their colours are mainly red and black, although you can adjust camo in this game. So they use rapid fire weapons and miniguns. They have large capacity of ammo, but they don't do much damage per shot, and they have the fastest air and ground vehicles. So the second race is the Vanu Sovereignty. They have adapted the alien technology that they found left behind on Araxis. Their colours are mainly purple and green, and the Vanu use plasma and laser technology, so they have no bullet drop and very low recoil, but their weapons do bloom a lot, and they have the most manoeuvrable vehicles because they can go sideways. The new conglomerate are the game's rebels. They oppose the Terran Republic's authoritarian government. They don't like the Vanu's use of alien technology. Their colours are blue and gold, and their weapons focus on Gore's weaponry, which is hard hitting, they do the most damage in a single shot, but their weapons tend to be slow firing and they don't like firing in full auto. Their tanks and air vehicles have the most armour. There are 6 classes in the game and your character can swap between these anytime he dies or goes to a weapon terminal.
The Infiltrator is a sniper class with a short duration cloaking ability, spotting tools, and the ability to hack enemy terminals so your team can use them.
The Infiltrator is predominantly a cloak sniper, although you can't shoot out of cloak, you do have to drop that. Because this is a range class, it's a good one to play early on because you don't have to go toe to toe with people with more skills.
Light Assault is a close to medium range skirmisher that has a jetpack for extreme mobility and can quickly flank enemy positions.
Light Assault is a great class for storming bases because you can fly over the walls and over shields. It's really good for getting behind troops. You have a reasonably effective carbine and you don't really need much in the way of experience put into a character to make a Light Assault effective.
Combat medics are general purpose infantry that can heal and revive teammates.
All characters can use disposable devices to heal themselves, but the combat medic is your primary healing source. They get 2 different heals, one of which is an area of effect, which gives you this green glow, and that heals everybody around you. But the primary way is using the healing gun, which also revives characters that are down.
Engineers are demolitions experts. They can drop ammunition resupply packs, create deployable turrets, and repair vehicles, objectives, and max units.
So calling engineers demolition experts is just wrong. They are more repairers. They can repair things like that terminal with a repair gun. They can also resupply ammunition to other characters. They have a pretty effective gun, as most classes do. But you have to spend certification points to get any demolition ability with the engineer. What they do get as standard is a turret, which is an infantry turret, but it won't let me use it in this tutorial to show you it.
Heavy assault infantry carry anti-vehicle rocket launchers, light machine guns, and have an improved nanite shield for absorbing more damage than other classes.
So the heavy assault are the hard hitters. This shield that's glowing around me now can either absorb damage that's coming in or mitigate damage, and they also get the rocket launcher. Heavy assault become really useful when they get a lock-on rocket launcher, but you do have to buy this.
MAC are heavy infantry and vehicle class power armor, with modular weapon systems that can be configured to handle infantry, vehicles, and aircraft.
The MAC suits work differently to the other classes in the fact that they have a resource cost and a respawn timer like vehicles. They have the option for anti-vehicle, anti-aircraft or anti-personnel weapons on each arm, but you only get one of each at the start and have to buy further weaponry, which means you are looking at having to buy extra weapons for the MACs to make it more efficient. And it also has issues with aiming, that the rockets, you'll notice, aren't going in the same place that the anti-infantry rounds are.
Infantry aren't your only threat. Our outdoor range also has vehicle targets. Most vehicles are resistant to small arms fire, and some, like tanks, are completely immune. For these threats, you have to use rocket launchers and other more powerful ordnance.
So here we see the 3 main battle tanks for the factions. We have the Mag Rider, which is on the left. We have the Vanguard in the middle and the Prowler on the right. Now the Prowler is the lightest armed of all the tanks, but you're going to see it takes a lot of shots from this rocket launcher to drop it. In fact, you have to go back and reload. And this is the starting rocket launcher. It doesn't lock on, so you're not guaranteed to hit every shot. And at this heavy assault trooper, you just can't kill tanks, not main battle tanks. You can harass them if you have a lock-on rocket launcher, but hitting a moving tank with the rocket launchers in this game, because they move so slow, is pretty hard. And the ranges that you're going to be firing at, the tank will just kill you. So you do have to invest in a lock-on rocket launcher and hit them from a long way away. So there are two currencies in the game: certification points, which are based on your experience gain, and station cash, which is the Sony real cash currency. So certification points are what you use to buy certifications for your character, which are new skills or improved skills. So if you look through this, which shows you some of the certification options for the combat medic, they have a certification point cost and can only be bought by certification points. You can't buy these by real currency, and you just select them and they automatically go onto your character if you already have that skill equipped. If not, you then have to equip it. So here we can see some of the things you can buy with station cash. These are bundles which get you started on a particular vehicle or class. So these can only be bought with station cash. Now station cash is $20 for 2,000, which is £16 or 18 euros, just to give you an idea of how much these items cost. So now we're looking at guns, and guns can be bought for station cash or for certification points, but the certification point cost is huge. You're looking at the same cost as buying the max level of a certification skill. So some of these guns aren't cheap. The cheapest gun you can buy will cost you £2.50 in the UK, and the most expensive I think will cost you £10. Now some of the classes work perfectly well without spending any money on them. The Infiltrator, the Combat Medic and the Light Assault are all fine with the weapons you get at the start, and you can just improve the skills with certification points. But if you look at the max, for example, if you want to be an anti-infantry max, you have to buy the second anti-infantry arm. It's the same with anti-air. You need 2 burster cannons to be an effective anti-air max. Well, have a look at buying one of the guns. I'm going to buy this semi-automatic sniper rifle because it's cheap and I've got some certification points left over from when I was equipping one of my other characters during one of the sales. NC don't start with a semi-automatic rifle, they only get a bolt action. But you don't really need a semi-automatic rifle, you can use the bolt action rifle quite happily. A heavy assault really needs a lock-on missile launcher. Trying to hit a flying vehicle with a non-lock-on rocket launcher is almost impossible. Hitting a fast-moving buggy with a non-lock-on rocket launcher is also almost impossible. But you can buy the Annihilator, which will cost £10 and will let you lock on to ground vehicles and aerial vehicles. And that is kind of a must for the heavy assault. The Engineer really needs the anti-vehicle turret. It's so much more powerful than the anti-infantry turret and works on infantry as well. It's a guided missile turret in effect. So if you don't want to spend any money on this game, I recommend you stick to Infiltrator, Light Assault and Combat Medic. Spend all your certification points on those. There's no point putting skill points into the others because you just won't have the equipment. You can spend real money on extra character slots, and you can also spend it on boosters. The experience boosters gain you extra certification points because they're based on experience, and so that is kind of pay to advance. The resource boosters you really don't need. Avoid them. So let's have a look at some gameplay. Let's start off with an Infiltrator. Now, because this gameplay is edited, it's of course going to make me look better than I actually am. There's a slight issue there that I couldn't spot the vehicles using my scope. I had to zoom out before it would let me spot the vehicles. But it does let you spot infantry through the scope, so I'm not quite sure why that's there. So this is using the standard bolt action sniper rifle. In all these clips I'm going to be using the standard weapons and no certification upgrades on the vehicles either. So the bolt action sniper is perfectly fine. I'm not a very good shot with it, but you can get kills at range if you hit them in the head, and you don't need to upgrade the scope because you can see I'm quite a long way away from this base, but the figures are still perfectly hittable. So Infiltrator is an ideal starting character if you're playing on your own rather than in a group, because you can lone wolf the Infiltrator quite easily by sitting away from a base and picking off the guys. So here's one tip. You'll find that max suits are followed by engineers to repair them. You really can't do much damage to the max, but you can pick off the engineer quite easily, and that makes the max more vulnerable for other people. So this is my favourite class. It's the light assault, and this clip's going to show you just what kind of fun you can have with a light assault. So pop up in the air, shoot at them, throw a grenade, and it's just that they're not expecting you to suddenly appear from the side. You know, they're thinking they've got the height, they're looking down. Assault trying to do the same thing, but managed to get in. So against the max suit you're not going to have much chance. You're basically going to pick on him a little bit, but against infantry who aren't expecting you, yeah, you're going to pretty much dominate them. So this is the combat medic. You can ping at light armoured vehicles, but again, you're not going to do much to them. But this is your primary role, reviving people. So you just run up to them with a gun, hit them, and then you get the circle wheel coming round. That gets them back up, and then you use the same gun again to heal them. If you want to revive them with more health or heal faster, then you need to spend certification points, but it's not vital. So this is the heavy assault with the LMG. And you can do quite a lot of damage with the LMG, but its recoil is quite hard to control. Now, on top of one of the spawn points, which has got the newer defensive structures on the top, so that you can pop out from the top and all the sides now rather than just being restricted to one door. The main advantage with the heavy assault is not having to reload and being able to pop the shield when you're in trouble. But it is best to pop the shield before you get into a fight. The LMG will do light damage to things like fighters. So that blue column going up is a squad beacon, which means that the squads can now drop in on that point. So if you lose the spawn room, or you don't want to spawn at the spawn room, you can use that instead. So on something big and slow like a Galaxy, the rocket launcher is fine, but you're not going to want to shoot a fighter with it. So we get a couple of hits on the Galaxy with it. So this is a lightning tank. This is the light tank, and all the factions get this same tank for their lighter choice. It's fast, it's nimble, it comes with basically a small auto cannon that fires 6 shots off before it reloads. If you want anti-armor or anti-infantry specific guns, then you do need to spend cash or certification points on those. But this gun is okay. You can see here I'm going to take up a few of the infantry on this ridge. This gun's kind of a medium. It's okay against infantry and it's okay against other vehicles, but you will lose to a modified Lightning that's got anti-armor gun on it. But they are fun. You do normally have to rely on running around, but for some reason this lot just never decided to take me on, so until at the end when I get blown up by some C4, a sneaky infiltrator I think it is. The tanks you get by spending your resources, which are earned by your faction holding certain points. So each base gives you a resource. Holding an entire continent gets you a discount on buying vehicles of 10% or aircraft at 10% depending on the continent. The Lightning's my favourite of the tanks, and I usually run it with an anti-infantry gun because you can just devastate with that.
Spotted a hostile engineer. Enemy medic in the area.
So now we're in the Vanguard, which is the main battle tank for the NC, and that vehicle slightly ahead of me is a Sundra, which is a troop transporter. It can also be set up with certification points to be a troop spawner, a vehicle resupply or vehicle repair vehicle as well. So the Vanguard is the heaviest armoured and hardest hitting of the tanks in the game, but it is slow firing and isn't very manoeuvrable. But we managed to do a lot of damage to that Lightning. So that lock symbol is because somebody's locking on a missile on us from behind, and because I've spent no certification points on it, I have no smoke canisters. So now we're in a Reaver, which is the NC's fighter aircraft. I'm a pretty terrible pilot. I can just about stay in the sky and occasionally point it at something to shoot at. But as you can see, control is not my strong point. So fighters are another thing that you really need to spend certification points or money on, because you need the rocket pods to attack ground vehicles and you need the lock-on air-to-air missiles to effectively attack air-to-air targets. You can do it with a cannon, but you need more skill as a pilot to use the cannon. So I could just go spend some cash, get some air-to-air missiles and instantly become more effective even as a bad pilot. So there is a Galaxy, which is a flying troop transporter, and there's also a Liberator, which is a 3-man gunship. Up ahead we have the Size, which is the Vanu fighter, and I think this is also an inexperienced pilot like myself because he's letting me stay on his tail and get some shots into him, which a decent pilot never does, which is why I don't fly very often. But because the air vehicles in here are your own spawn rather than being something that spawns in the world, you feel a lot less guilty about crashing hideously rather than you would do in, say, Battlefield 3, where it's your team's resource you're wasting. So that's a Galaxy, that's a friendly Galaxy that's just taken out the Size for me. Stolen my kill. It might have been the only aerial kill I ever got. And that is a Liberator, which I'm going to put some shots into. So the biggest problem this game has is server populations. You look through the 3 servers I've got access to with my characters. Not one of them has a level server population. Yeah, when you've got one race in the 40s, okay, that one's not so bad, but yeah, it really makes it a bad day when you turn up and find your favourite character has only got like a 20% server population that day. You just don't bother playing. So this was a balanced server, but look at the state of the continents. You very rarely find anything balanced in this game. Now, I did say that base camping had improved, but as you can see from this, we're just spawn camping this base because we've pretty much got it captured, but we're going to spend a good 5 minutes sitting here, stopping them coming out of their spawn point and just base camping them. We're going to kill anything that comes out through that doorway. Yeah, so I might get a few kills, the people inside might get a few kills, but we're really accomplishing nothing. And it just gets frustrating after a while. If you're in a low population situation, you're just going to get steamrolled from one base to another, and you try defending and you just can't. And you end up just leaving the game. Or going to a continent that you've got a better population on, and that's why it ends up with continents just being 50% one side, 25% the other sides, and it's domination because people would rather win than lose, strangely enough.
This facility now belongs.
Real money. Is this game pay to win? No. I think for some of the classes and some of the vehicles it's certainly pay for an advantage. Let's say you can play the Infiltrator, the Medic and the Light Assault quite happily without spending any money on them. But the other classes and most of the vehicles, you get a distinct advantage from spending money, and you also improve faster. A major issue with Planetside 2 since its release has been its frames per second performance. I'm running quite a powerful gaming machine, and sometimes I'll be down to 30 frames per second in a mass combat. Now this is being addressed in a patch that they're planning on bringing out, and they've done several videos on what they're doing to change it. But at the moment it's very variable in its FPS performance, and it's to the point that it can really affect combat. So while this is an accomplished first-person shooter with good graphics and good gun control, it does lack some of the things you'd expect in a modern MMO. Mainly, there's no story to the game at all, it is all combat, and it lacks any kind of solo gaming experience. In this game you really must play it in a group. It doesn't take a large group, 5 or 6 people can make a difference in this game. And if you join an outfit, which is probably the best option, you will have an awful lot of fun. It is still lacking in a sense of single player experience though. There's a sense of achievement missing. Capturing a base is just a little message on screen and a noise. If you make a kill it shows up in experience, whereas what you really count is certification points. Going up in a level is just a badge, there's nothing for it. If you think about most MMOs, you have character ownership and a story, and there's none of this in Planetside 2. There's no personalisation really, other than putting camos on, which don't really make much difference. The biggest problem with Planetside is its sense of scale. They say, oh, one of our bases is the size of a battlefield map. But in a battlefield map, it's an equal side, it's a test of skill, and you know it's going to end. Planetside 2 just never ends. Now, I'm not saying this is a bad game by any stretch of the imagination. I have a lot of fun on my Vano and TR characters, but that's because I'm playing with a bunch of people I know, and we're all using TeamSpeak rather than the in-game chat, so we can block out other people we don't really want to listen to. And we have a good fun getting organised together. But playing this NC character on my own from scratch has made me realise that the game hasn't really progressed that much. It's still just a shooter. It might have lots of bells and whistles and lots of people, but the thing to look at is that this game is a shooter and it has the same kind of social scene as most shooters do. But it's free, and if you've got a group of friends or you're quite happy to make friends in game, then give it a try, because it is good fun. Would I swap it for Battlefield? No. Now Battlefield 4's out, I will not be playing Planetside for a while. And I guess that's my conclusion on Planetside 2. So thanks for watching this look at Planetside 2. It's been a bit of an experiment and was an absolute nightmare to edit. My respect for YouTube reviewers has gone up, well, for the good ones. I'm not sure if this is a good review or not, but it was an attempt.